Hey everybody, it is yours truly coming to you this week with a new video. This video is basically talking about what I like to do during my social media social media timeouts, how I like to spend those. So keep watching. So social media is a part of everybody's life at this point in this day and age. It is literally inescapable. It is like the cell phone, because I mean obviously it's on the cell phone, but you need it, you always have it, you crave it. It's just there and there's no escaping it. And if social media is not a part of your daily life, then good for you. Like, in all seriousness, good for you. But for me personally, I know I am guilty of being on Instagram, being on Snapchat, being on Facebook for hours at a time, like not even on purpose. I'll just be scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and look up and 2 hours have gone by. And I know that's not good because, one, obviously there's nothing productive happening in that 2 hours. Like, there's so much that could have been done. So much that could have been done that won't get done. Or another thing I know I've experienced or other people have experienced is social media displays aspects of other people's lives or your life that you want people to see. So it's a lot of positive imagery, a lot of look what I have, a lot of look how I look, things like that. Not to say that there's no genuine positivity being posted on social media, because it is. It definitely is. But I know for a lot of people, including myself, I've experienced being on social media and feeling a lot of self-doubt or lack of confidence, or just feeling like, you know, why don't I have this thing that this person has, or why is in my life where I feel it should be based on what I'm seeing other people have on social media. So whenever I feel like that, I just be like, you know what, it's about that time. We need to go ahead and cut it out, because, you know, no one wants that feeling of just bleh. So what I like to do is I will buy a book, like usually on Amazon, because for whatever reason it's so hard to find a bookstore now, and I'm not a Kindle person because screens make my head hurt after long periods of time, which is funny considering that I just said I can spend forever on Facebook or Instagram. But screens do make my head hurt after a while, which is another reason why I do go on a social media hiatus, because I will get the worst headaches in the world. But I will get on Amazon and find a book, and I will buy a book and take all the social media off of my phone until I have finished that book. And I know for some people that's probably like, that's not that long, but for me, I'm not an avid reader. I don't read for fun. After I graduated college, I was like, cool. You know, anything else that I read is probably an instruction manual, and that's not for very long. So it probably takes me, depending on the book, it probably takes me like 2 to 3 weeks to finish a book. Thought I had lipstick on my teeth. Probably takes me like 2 to 3 weeks to finish a book. So I think between 3 weeks to a month is like a good social media timeout that I'll take. So this video is basically just gonna go over my more recent readings that I've done for my social media breaks. And the first book that we can talk about, it's a self-help book that I found on Amazon. I believe I bought this book for like, I use Amazon Prime, so I think this book might have been like $10 or $11. It wasn't expensive at all. None of the books that I buy are ever like $25, $30 books, because I don't want to spend $25 or $30 on a book. But this is the book. This book, as you can see, is called Unfuck Yourself. This book is by Gary John Bishop, and it's called Unfuck Yourself, Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life. So I know I said this is a self-help book, and you're probably thinking, what kind of self-help are you getting with a book that has that title? Well, for some people, positive affirmations and meditating and kumbaya works for them when they are feeling down or they're in a slump or what have you. Not to say that any of those things are not good, because they're great, they're amazing. But for me, I need a mix. Like, I need the kumbaya, the calm, the namaste, but I also need to be like, need some sort of motivation that's like, hey, get it together. Get yourself together. And to me, that's what this book is. I found that this book was an easy read. It's not a very long book. Let's see how many pages are in it. This book has, not including about the author, it has 207 pages in it, which is how many chapters? 9 chapters. So it's not a very large book, as you can see. I believe I finished this book in 2 weeks. Yeah, I finished this book in 2 weeks. And I enjoyed it, honestly. I feel like that's probably why I was able to finish it so fast. Like, when I get books that I like, it's not hard for me to finish them because I like them. But I think one of my main takeaways that I got from that book was, everybody has those times where, you're gonna get into a slump. It's human nature. It happens. It's life. But you're really the determining factor of whether you stay there or you don't at the end of the day. Of course, there are outside variables that are going to take a toll on you, but ultimately you can either stay stuck or don't. And that's what I really liked about the book. It was really straightforward. It provided some great examples. Not to mention that, the language is creative, which makes it interesting, as you can tell based on the title. But I enjoyed that book. Like I said, I got it on Amazon for like $10, $11. I used my Prime, so there was like no shipping. And it got here in like 2 days. So yes, if you are looking for a good motivational book that's gonna be like a tough love motivation, that's your book. More recently, another book that I just finished this book actually, for when I was not on social media, was this book, Black Privilege. Opportunity Comes to Those Who Created, by Charlemagne The God. There we go. Yes, so if anyone here watching this video watches The Breakfast Club, listens to The Breakfast Club, you know who Charlemagne The God is. For those of you who don't, he is a popular radio personality on a radio show called The Breakfast Club. They do a lot of really great, really interesting interviews with celebrities, politicians, really good stuff. And I chose to read this book because he also Charlemagne has a reputation of not being the nicest person, but being honest, really. And when I saw that it was New York Times bestseller, I was like, okay, it can't be a crappy book if it's a New York Times bestseller. So I wanted to read it. It made me curious. I bought this book also on Amazon for, what's it say, $16? For $16. Also brought it Prime, so there wasn't any shipping. It got here in about 2 days. Not including the about the author or the acknowledgments, there were 285 pages in this book, giving you a total of 8 chapters, or they're called principles in this book, but 8 chapters. So yeah, I finished this book in like 3 weeks. I liked this book. It wasn't hard to start. It wasn't hard to keep reading until a certain point. For me personally, after I got to a certain point, I felt like some of what I was reading was redundant. And the way the book is set up, yes, there's like life hacks or some, advice given in about like life in the book, and it's also a mixture between that and his autobiography, things that he's gone through in his life that taught him the lessons that he's talking about, which was cool with me. But after a while, like I said, some things just, it kind of felt like it was being repeated, or it was like beating it with a dead horse. But after that point, and it was a small point for me, and it was towards the end of the middle of the book, where I was kind of like, I really want to finish this book because I bought it and I said I want to finish it, so I'm going to finish it. So once I got past that part, the end was cool, the beginning was cool, the beginning of the middle was cool. It was just like at some point between like chapters 5 and 6, it was just kind of hard to keep reading, being honest. But one of the things that I really took away from this book, though, that I'm going to try and do for my next book or my next social media timeout, Charlemagne says that growing up, you know, he read a lot of books, but one of the things that he tried to do, which I'm going to try and do, is find books that don't necessarily pertain to me. Meaning, for example, it's great to read books as African American woman. It's great to read a book about a famous or inspirational African American woman. Great, because that's relatable. But he was saying, you know, it's really important, it's equally as important to read books that don't pertain to you at all, just so that you have that contrast to where you can broaden your mind and view the world differently based on a different book. So for example, I have, like, one of my least favorite subjects in school was history. Why? I don't know. Probably because there was so much reading about things that I didn't necessarily care about. So the next book that I read will probably be a history book in some way, shape, or form, because a lot of history, especially in the United States, does not focus in on African American history, like the actual history outside of slavery. It doesn't really focus in on women because women didn't have any rights. So, you know, just trying to find something that either I wouldn't pick up if I was book shopping, something that I wouldn't pick up, something I wouldn't be interested, or based on a person that seemingly has nothing in common with me, whether it be gender, whether it be race, whether it be class, whether it be height, weight, whatever, just something polar opposite. Like I said, to broaden my horizons, to get information that I probably wouldn't have gotten if I consistently read the same type of book. So to me, I think that was the biggest takeaway that I got out of that book, was to not be closed-minded in my attempt to learn, or in my attempt to better myself, spend my time more wisely, is to not limit myself in what I'm reading. So that's what I got out of that book. But I would recommend that book. I would recommend both of those books for anybody looking for a read while they are doing a social media timeout. And my last book that I did want to talk about, I don't have it with me, and I don't have it with me because I let someone borrow it and I never got it back. So I probably won't be handing out my books anymore. But this was a really old book that I read kind of a long time ago, but it's one of my favorite books. And that says a lot because, like I said, I don't read for fun, but it's one of my favorite books. And it's actually one of my mom's old books that I just kind of found in the house and started reading. And I'll put a picture of it up here and you'll be able to see it. But it's called A Woman's Worth. Oh my gosh. And you can find it on Amazon, because you can find anything on Amazon. It's called A Woman's Worth. That is a fictional piece that I read. I read that book. I was still in college when I read that book. That book was so good. I could not put that book down. And the only reason it took me more than a week to finish that book is because it's kind of lengthy, but it's such a great story. I thoroughly enjoyed that book. And for those of you watching this video thinking, based off the title, it sounds like, you know, one of those love stories or relationship stories, or maybe some of you are thinking it's a man bashing story, and it's not. It's really not. Once you finish the book, or like really get into the story, the title makes so much more sense, and it has a deeper meaning than it appears. But that's one of my favorite books. I recommend that book to anyone. And like I said, it wasn't hard to read. It wasn't hard to start. And that's the thing about me. Like, if a book is hard to start, I'm not going to finish it. It's not hard to start. It's not hard to keep reading. You're really sad when it's over, because you'll be like, what happened to these people? Like, you get so invested in the characters, and I enjoyed that book so much. So those are my top three favorite and most recent books that I've read during my social media timeout, social media hiatus. So if anybody out there is just looking for something to occupy themselves while they're not on social media, because you know you need that break. At the end of the day, you do need that break to unplug and unwind and reset and get yourself together. If you're looking for books to occupy yourself, I would highly recommend the 3 that I talked about in this video. So yeah, if you have any questions, any other if you're like not a reader per se, but you have some questions on some other things that or you need ideas on what else you could do while you're doing your social media timeout, drop them below in the comments. There are other things besides reading books that I do while on my social media hiatus. For me, reading a book was something I could do consistently and something that I knew if I bought it, I was going to read it because I bought it. But there are other things that I do. So if you have questions about that, drop them below. If you want some more information about the books that I spoke about, read the description. I will be sure to put that information in there. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see y'all next time. Love you, from yours truly.